Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Taurus energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread. We're going to kind of read it from a couple different perspectives because life's about growing up and maturing yourself and tempering your more egoic nature, which can be your more immature nature, self indulgent nature, prideful nature, self centered nature, bossy, controlling, stubborn, lazy, more about yourself nature, um, looking to things other than love, thinking that's the answer to your problems. And some people have learned those lessons, some people haven't. It's kind of like different emotional maturity levels. So the cards are going to come out, and everybody has the free will to harness them in a more high vibrational way. But some people, they're not ready to do that. They don't have the emotional maturity. They get manipulated more by their fear, or their ego, or their lust, or their greed, or something. And Taurus energy is earth sign energy, so it could be we're all tempted by the world. And so some people, though it can be about stubborn and ego and image, it can also be about conforming to the world or making your life more about the things of the world, which can be indulgence or money and materialism. But I view this as the overarching reason for the reading. So the routine card, we'll talk about that in a minute. At the end of the story here, we kind of have the snake and the cross and the sun and the devil. We'll keep doing the same old thing over and over and over until the snake can kind of talk about what kind of emotionally manipulates us. And I view the snake kind of as a Seven of Swords card, which is Aquarius energy. The card, though, does say Scorpio. You know, and emotionally, Scorpio's water sign energy, Aquarius, Seven of Swords is air sign energy. We can be emotionally manipulated by our mind, that no, I got to live my life like this. And it's most important to look like, have a certain image or status, or it's all about having people view me a certain way. And then they're not kind of seeing how all that manipulates them from living their more authentic life. And we can have people in our life that live their life like that, and then they in turn try to manipulate other people to make them live their life a certain way. High vibe energy wants us to free ourselves from things that manipulate us. And the sun talks about being illuminated to the truth. But you have to work through to be willing to want to see what manipulates you. But that does take work and effort. Over at the end of the story, we have the devil card, which is Capricorn energy. We all harness Capricorn energy, but the devil kind of talks about our more worldly, shadowy, fearful, codependent, lustful, greedy, immature, self indulgent nature. A lot of things, I can't sit and list them all, but we have to see the truth of how things manipulate us, or it will keep manipulating us. And Capricorn, like Taurus, being earth sign energy, in order to free ourselves from things that manipulate us, it's not easy. The devil talks about those things that kind of get a stranglehold on us. And emotionally, in Scorpio energy, we're emotionally complex human beings. And, we can have in Aquarius energy these dreams and these wishes and these things that we'd like to have turn out the way we want. And we could like things to be a certain way, and we wish other people maybe would harness high vibe Taurus energy, which is growing up, maturing themselves, acting with character and integrity, and walking the talk. Kind of walking the talk and being authentic, being more bold and brave and confident. The cross on it says the 12th house, which is Pisces energy, which can be where we're all just kind of caught up in the illusion of the world. So shadowy Taurus, shadowy Aquarius, shadowy Pisces, shadowy Leo, shadowy Capricorn. We can all, in those energies of ourself, kind of really be caught up in ourself, or these things we like to indulge in, or more about ourself or the ego or the image or all these other things to try to make us feel better or look victorious and successful. But are we living our truth? Are we doing things to do it for the status, the ego, the image? We have free will to live our life like that. Or we can work through, why do I do that? Why don't I go find a job and work with some people I really like and enjoy that are loving and encouraging and supportive of me to overcome my fears? And the devil can be where it challenges your belief system. And Taurus is about our belief system. Aquarius energy about how we view ourselves, how we view the world, kind of these things that we make so important in our life. And it can challenge our belief system. And then that can be confusing. Well, that's not the way I kind of viewed life. And, well, I don't know, I kind of viewed life this way. And now you're kind of illuminating things that make me kind of look at life differently. And then that can cause us all this mental conflict and inner conflict. The devil can just represent the inner conflict that we have. Are we willing to deal with it? The truth sets us free. But we have to be willing to look at those things that cause us conflict within ourselves. And then when we look at the things within ourselves that cause us conflict, then we can look at the people we're surrounding ourselves with, or working with, or in relationship with. Are they being authentic and encouraging? Or are they happy that I'm more fearful or confused? Do they try to confuse me? Do they want to be in the relationship more for the ego or the image or the status, or be indulged? Why do I keep indulging them if I'm indulging them? Why do I keep doing the same old, same old? And then Leo is fire sign energy, and right above it is Aries, fire sign energy. And at the middle of the reading, we have high honor, which reminds me of the Six of Wands, which is Leo energy. And up here, we have the hammer, which is fire sign energy. In our fire sign energy, which can be about kind of what drives and motivates us and inspires us, initially starting out in the world, and we grow up in the world, and everybody in the world, that in our families and our friend group and our community and our city and our state and our country tell us we should live our life a certain way. And of course, depending on what community and what city, state, country you live in, what they're going to tell you is going to be different. But Taurus talks about our philosophy of life, and it dictates kind of the decisions that we make in our life. And we can all kind of conform to the world. Shadowy Taurus can be about conforming to the world. And we want to fit in with the world. The devil can represent the world. We want to be in friendship and relationship, and we want to have jobs, and we want people to be in our relationship with us. So we all really want those things. And probably for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're really caught up in these things of the world. Then we have the seduction card and the change card. Initially we're really inspired. The red hair can also kind of represent Leo energy and fire sign energy. That we're really kind of motivated and inspired. The change card, of course, reminds me of the chariot, which is about love of self, want to move forward with other people in love, or at least what looks like love and our conception of what we think love is, and all these things. And the chariot also talks about moving forward victoriously and successfully. So initially we can be pretty fired up by love, and there can be a lot of things we love and that we want to go indulge in that we think will make us look cool or successful or victorious or something, you know. But initially, we probably, when we were young, were kind of more motivated and inspired by love. But then we have the disconnection card, which kind of reminds me of Scorpio energy also, because Scorpio energy is can talk about exploring the mysteries of life. And, initially when we're young, there are all these things we want to explore. And we probably, when we were younger, did have that more hopeful, believing nature. We were operating from the chariot, being Cancer energy. We were kind of pretty motivated and inspired by love and having hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams. But somewhere along the way, we could have kind of Scorpio in a regular tarot deck is also represented by the Death card, where sometimes we kind of lose touch with being more connected in with our more hopeful, believing nature, because there's these things of the world that we want to indulge in, and part of it we could kind of get caught up in our ego. Shadowy Leo of these two cards can kind of be getting caught up in your ego. And um Aries energy is about the self, so regardless of what zodiac sun sign people are, we all tap into these different zodiac sign traits and characteristics. They're a part of all of us. And sometimes some people kind of got a little full of themselves, or just being more about themselves. And some people could have decided, Aquarius energy also kind of being full of yourself. And then some people can kind of think, well, gee, if I have a certain status or image in the world, or fire sign can be that you're charming or attractive or something, and the devil can be that you have, and Taurus can be that you have status or image or social cloud or something. That, it's almost like some people get a God complex. The devil has a God complex, right? Like, oh my gosh, people should want to be in relationship with me. And they kind of get caught up in that. And sometimes the Seven of Swords of the Snake card can talk about the fact that uh, you're kind of tipped out of balance and maybe not listening to your intuition. And then you're kind of moving forward, kind of a little bit full of yourself, or really caught up in some of these things of the world. Well, the divine is always there, and there's probably always loving and encouraging people in the world, trying to illuminate the truth to people, even by just how they live their life. They're not being full of themselves. They're not thinking they're God's gift to people. High vibe Aquarius, some people kind of work through their more egoic nature and kind of put life in perspective and realize, I'm just part of the plan, and it's not all about me. I am not the center of the universe. And I might have my dreams, my goals, my ambitions, but if I want to work together with other people, well, they also have their dreams, their goals, their ambitions, and it's not just supposed to be all about me. I'm supposed to work cooperatively with them in truth and love. And Aquarius energy, also represented by the star card, that if I want a dream to come into reality, I need to quit being seduced by myself, harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way, and maybe see how I did disconnect from my more hopeful, believing, loving nature and could have gotten in my defensive nature. Shadowy Leo could be being defensive. So you're operating more from your ego, and you kind of don't let your more authentic, loving nature out to play anymore. And then people think, oh, it'll be fine. I don't really have to do love. If I do love, I get hurt. I know. I'm going to disconnect from my more emotionally intuitive, loving nature and creative, inspired nature. That would be high vibe fire sign. And instead, I'm going to operate more from my ego and be a little bit more about me, protecting myself. Well, the problem is they can try to get in relationships with people who did do the work within themselves to see how their own shadowy nature, fearful nature, prideful nature, immature nature manipulates them. And they've been illuminated to the devil. And they made the free will choice in their dualistic nature I still am aligned with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And high vibe Scorpio can mean that as I go on this journey of life, I'm going to meet all these different people in the world. Some people are going to be loving and encouraging, and um, some people look at life from a higher perspective. Some people don't. Some people get caught up in their head. Some people are more about themselves. And up here in the hammer card, it just says fire sign. Here we have Leo and Aries, but one of the other fire sign is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about looking at life as an adventure to be lived, and it's about learning lessons. And I go through these phases of life because I was drawn and attracted to certain things at different times in my life. I lived my life like a 15-year-old. That was great. And then I realized in the Scorpio, kind of like the death card, that if I want my dreams to come into reality, I need to detach from one phase of life in my Leo energy to kind of temper. The masculine figures can kind of represent our more egoic nature. I need to temper my more egoic nature, and then harnessing high vibe fire sign energy, be inspired to. So the routine card now is kind of reminding me of the phrase you've probably heard before, where it's about, what is it, chopping wood and hauling water or something, but putting in the work and effort. It might not, it takes work and effort. If we want to free ourselves from an old way of living life or viewing life, and other people in our life who could tempt us to keep living our life like that and keep hanging out with them or stay at that job, stay in that friendship group or relationship, it takes work. And it might seem boring, and it might seem like you're not kind of going out and living life like some other people are living life. But if you've already been there and done that, and you realize that I have this dream, and if I keep doing that, it keeps me doing that. And if I have a dream, I need to get inspired to put in that work and effort to stay focused on that bigger picture and have hope and faith and belief in myself, believe in my dreams. I view high vibe Leo as giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. And that way we also get out of more immature codependent energy because we're not looking outside of ourselves for someone to play that role in our life. Do we appreciate when people are loving and encouraging and supportive? Yes. Am I codependent because I don't know how to do that within myself? No. I've learned how to do that within myself, like being my own best mother, father, coach voice, to deal with my own fears, my own insecurities, to motivate and inspire myself to keep moving forward and believing in myself and believing in my dreams because I'm not a child anymore. But when we're in more codependent energy, there's always people who can want to be in a relationship with you because you haven't learned to do that within yourself. And you're kind of up in your head maybe about loving and believing in yourself, or even wondering if you're worthy of love, or, and love is supposed to be just and fair. And people are supposed to treat each other the way they like to be treated. And there's always shadowy people in the world looking for people who haven't, they could be loving, giving, nurturing people, but they haven't learned to love themselves. And so they could just be a more codependent energy. And the other shadowy people in the world are in that shadowy kind of codependent energy too. And it's like, hey, let's move forward in a relationship. We'll look like we have what other people have in the world. We'll look like shining stars in the world. Like we have, I guess you could look at the cross card as like, we have justice in the world. We would look like we have justice in the world. But are we in a relationship because of love? Or are we in the relationship because, well, to be in a relationship? Take a job to have a job. Be in a friendship to be in a friendship. Is it more out of fear and insecurity where it feels more like a job? You know, love is supposed to be freely flowing. Another way to look at this is some people detach from their more emotionally loving nature because they were more inspired to look like a shining star in the world. And the routine card, because it kind of also makes me think earth sign energy. If you're too much about just things, make things of the world too important, it can be a little boring. But because that's what they're more inspired by, and not really being creative and inspired by love and hope and faith and belief in themselves. And it's more about this image and the status, or being about them, or indulging in things, right? And for some other people who've already kind of been in relationships with people like that, and they could have been in that energy at some point in time to some degree of their own, or felt like people were trying, wearing a false mask, trying to present themselves like, oh no, I'm this just and fair person, and I'm loving and encouraging and supportive. In a lot of ways they could have been loving and encouraging and supportive, but the underlying purpose for it was maybe being driven more by the ego and the image and the status, and how it benefited them, or to be in a relationship to indulge himself in it. But it really wasn't where I want to grow and heal and mature with you. And I'm inspired to have hope and faith and belief, to not make my life more about me or these things of the world, or stay in it for these reasons. I'm inspired to face my fears too. And then you keep growing and maturing yourself. And some people are like, well, no, I want to be in a relationship. I want to, I like being in a relationship. It's good for my ego and my image. I like all the perks about being in a relationship. But they're kind of deceptive about why. And um, Taurus energy is represented by the Hierophant, which can be kind of like trying to look like a pillar of society in the cross card, and like the Hierophant. Let's put in this work and effort to have this certain status and image, and let's do these things and do those things, and attend this and not attend this, and not hang out with those people and not do these things, because the most important thing is for people to view us a certain way, or have a certain status or image. And other people can get in relationships with them, and they thought they were really authentically motivated to do those things because they thought that was really their truth. But for some people, again, they're not living their authentic truth. It's just kind of maybe what they were told growing up or something, that this is how you're supposed to live your life. This is what you're supposed to do. These are the most important things. This will make you look victorious and successful. This will make other people, the devil can be people being attracted to you, put work and effort to look a certain way, dress a certain way, have a certain status, image, social clout, cultivate those things. And other people want to be in a relationship with you, but are they being authentic? Are they motivated and inspired by love? And for some people, it is just totally driven by their ego, is kind of in the driver's seat of their life, and they don't even know it. And some of them are quite full of themselves, and some of them, of course, think people should want to be in a relationship with because they bought into this illusion, and they bought into thinking this is just and fair. And then they can be confused. They can get in relationships with them. People initially can kind of buy into the illusion. Oh, well, you look like a just and fair and stable and balanced and loving person. You don't seem more prideful or egotistical or more about yourself. You seem to be motivated and inspired by love. And then they move forward in a relationship with them. And some people could be doing that right now. And then as time goes by, they kind of realize it's missing that creative spark. One of them might have it, someone who's more motivated and inspired by love, but the other person could be more inspired to be about these other things. And then You could harness your Scorpio energy differently, where one person in a more shadowy Scorpio's made the free will choice. I find my emotions confusing. I am an emotionally complex human being. It's confusing. I don't like to deal with it. So I decided to live more from my mind than my heart. And I might use my emotions and my sexuality and my looks and my charm and my money and my body and all these things kind of more manipulatively to get what I want. But I don't really think I have to do love. I think maybe I'm smart enough. I don't have to do love. And if I have a certain status or image, maybe some of the people that I'm in a relationship with won't require it of me anyway, and they'll be willing to stay in a relationship with me anyway. Well, people can. Some of them didn't realize it when they got in the relationship. But as time went by, one person is kind of trying to bring a dream into reality based on truth and love. And as they're trying to move it forward, the other person kind of maybe seems to kind of emotionally lack interest, male or female. The feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine energies could be how we present ourselves in the world. And as time goes by, they kind of start to see the truth that my truth is different than your truth. And the reason you want to be in it or stay in it is different. Your end goal of it isn't to be in high vibe Scorpio of a deep, meaningful relationship. It isn't to be more independent of our more worldly, shadowy nature or more about our self nature or indulging ourselves or making our life. Everybody can put work and effort to be very victorious and successful in the world. But the people who are probably more inspired to do that and more happy with it are people who are doing things that they really love, working together with people they love, working together with people in a just and fair and loving and supportive and encouraging environment. And sometimes shadowy people try to get in relationships with people who are more like that, thinking, that for them, that's like the dream life. So long as the people they're in a relationship with don't become illuminated to the truth that it really isn't love that drives and motivates them. But shadowy Scorpio can be where you start to feel like it's more emotionally shallow and superficial. And there too, high vibe people learn lessons in life. They face their fears. They work through some of their issues to detach from an old way of living life. And in the high honor, the Six of Wands are ready to move forward. Let's go to the next phase of life. Let's work through some of our fears and insecurities about living our more authentic life, feeling more comfortable in our own skin, not letting more things and let go of some of the things that manipulate us. The Six of Wands talks about having victory over your ego nature, things within you, and friends and family and the world, and lust and greed and ego, and all those things that can manipulate you. Let's shed a layer, just like, we live life at 15, 18, 21, 25, and we shed that layer and said, that was great when I was in it, but it's time to move on. I don't want to live like a 15, 18, 21, or 25-year-old all my life. And but you have to face your fears to believe, I think I can have victory over the next phase of life. And that would be high vibe energy wants us to believe in our dreams and free ourselves from past pain and heartbreak and all these different things that manipulate us to really live our authentic life, to be free to live our authentic life from love. But some people really have a problem with that because in their Taurus and fire sign energy, they're still maybe, that just isn't maybe how they view life. That's a whole different philosophy of life. Taurus is about our philosophy of life. That really challenges my whole philosophy of life. I was brought up or grew up thinking you're supposed to make your life about the world. That's the end point. We live on the planet, and the world at any given moment in time tells us this is what you should wear and do and be, and that'll be applauded. And this is kind of, make your life about things that you enjoy, but live it authentically. Live your authentic truth from love. And maybe look at life from a higher perspective in Aquarius energy. That maybe there's a higher purpose to being on this planet. Part of it could be to be loving and encouraging to help other people work through their fears and insecurities. So we have more people in the world that have worked through past pain and heartbreak and, be loving and encouraging to other people. And some people who are much more shadowy would be like, what? Why would I want to help anyone else, man? They're all shadowy energy, as can be where, you're in pettiness and jealousy and stuff. Those people are my competition. Why would I want to have them outshine me? It's like, well, you can't do everything in the world, can you? So, we need doctors and nurses and teachers and janitors and cab drivers. And, it all makes the world go round. And everybody has their unique things that work for them and that they're great at. And, not everybody can be plunked in different jobs. And it would, you know, some people can make lots of things great, just by the type of person they are in whatever profession they are and how they can help other people feel and be encouraging and supportive in whatever role they play in the world, right? And then there's much more shadowy people that are just like, I totally don't think like that. And no, it's more about me. And I don't want anyone outshining me. And so I might even try to deceive and manipulate other people who I do think are shining brighter than me. That shadowy energy of trying to control and manipulate people because basically you're in jealousy and envy. Well, you could do that. Or you could work through why are you jealous and envious of it? Work through why you don't believe you can do those things. I mean, people could be prettier, smarter, more talented, blah, blah, blah. But we have to work with our own crosses to bear that we have and our talent and intellect and whatever, and just our natural way of being. Our natural way of being to whatever degree, but I'm just saying we could, if we find that other people have traits and characteristics that we admire, well, we could put in work and effort to harness those traits a little bit more, you know? We could put, say if it's about looks or whatever, we could always try to present ourselves as nicely as we could and feel proud of ourselves. We can do the best that we can do with what we're given, right? And it isn't, and money and status and whatever. It's like, I don't know. But anyway, I think right now there's some shadowy people that are more about themselves and the ego and the image, and they don't care if to be in a job, a friendship, and relationship, even with people they don't like. If that's going to make them look like a shining star in the world and look like they've gotten justice, if that's the way they think and their philosophy of life, that's probably what they're going to do. If their philosophy of life is no, it's all about me, people have to indulge me, well, if they can find someone who initially probably doesn't see through the illusion of it because they probably wear a false mask. The devil likes to think they're God and tries to present themselves like, oh, you should make your life all about these things and your dreams will come into reality. You end up with things. And we've all read articles about the rich and famous who are miserable and suicidal and drugs and alcohol because they have all these things of the world, but they might have people who are willing to be in a relationship with them, but why? Love and truth and honesty and authenticity is what really makes it all worthwhile. But the devil, of course, doesn't want to see the truth of it. And some of the people who are only offering people things of the world, eventually some of those people see the truth of it and they have to work through their own fears and love and believe in themselves enough to become like independent of those people and places. And we're all kind of ready to do that when we're ready. And that can take time. And even if people have detached from some of those people, it just takes time to even work through because you don't want to go repeat it. And it's trying to figure out, what it was that, if we learn the lesson we were meant to learn, oh, okay. Well, for one, maybe learning, I can be a very loving person and I could think, well, everybody's motivated and inspired by love, but not everybody is. And I have to accept the truth of that. And that can be hard to understand because if you're someone who's really motivated by love, it's hard to believe there's people in the world who make that free will choice. I'm not doing love, I get hurt there. I'm not doing that. If I even get some people, they get in a relationship and everything is great, but then they even start to think like, oh my gosh, I'm even starting to think that maybe I do have hope and faith and belief in love. And that's enough where it's like, you're the devil. You're trying to tempt me. You could hurt me. Uh, and then they recoil back into their self protective, self defensive mode. And shadowy Scorpio can be life's just about death, sex, and taxes, and that's why I like it. I don't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. I don't want to look at life differently. I don't want to be around people who challenge my philosophy of life and make me question how my truth. I'm just going to go back and get in a relationship with someone who's more like me. And if they can find someone who also is more about the world, likes to live more from their mind than their heart, doesn't really maybe want to do more deep, meaningful relationships, would rather be in a relationship for the ego and the image, well, then they'll probably move forward in it. The problem is if there comes a problem in that relationship at some future point, even though they could not like it, one of them, or parts of people in a group, because those things are so important to them, they end up staying in situations that are hurtful, unkind, abusive, manipulative, deceptive, bossy, controlling. So, it's just like an addiction. And people, it's kind of like the more you stay in a toxic friendship or relationship or ways of living your life, it can be really hard to get out. And that's when some people might have no choice but to look at life from a higher perspective, but they have to make that free will choice. And because it takes work and effort, and maybe they'd have to reveal the truth, or they'd have to have some hope and faith and belief in themselves, or they'd have to learn to love themselves and see the truth of things that kind of manipulate them within themselves and other people. Some people don't want to see the truth. That's shadowy Seven of Swords. No, no, I have this way of viewing myself and viewing the people I hang out with. And it's like, it's just to keep staying in denial of the truth. Some people have some lessons to learn, just like we all have in our life, but some people have more lessons to learn than others. Have any of you been in a relationship with someone where it seemed like uh, it was really hard to get out of kind of being drawn and attracted to them? I kind of concluded that I think it's because we have a lot of lessons learned from that person. And it ends up forcing us to deal with all these issues where maybe always thinking other people are going to change, think always having hope and faith in the face of people showing you I'm not changing. If you got in a relationship with me and I was more about myself, or I was more immature, or I was shallow, or I was superficial, or I was defensive, or I was prideful, hey, you want to keep thinking one day I'll change, I'll keep staying in a relationship with you. Works for me, you know? And then people, it's just as hard for people who have hope and faith and belief and love to work through accepting the truth and getting out of their ego. We're also not God in people's lives. And it doesn't matter how loving and encouraging and just and fair you can be with people. There's some people that will not, it's okay for you to be that way, but they're not going to be that way. And that's their free will choice. And we need to get out of our ego about it and accept the truth that there's free will in the world. And some people have no desire to change. And other people do have, in the seduction, like a desire, do have a desire to change. And then high vibe people realize I'm not going to try to change people anymore. If people show me they're more seduced by what they love or what they view as love or whatever, and that's not my truth, I'm willing to emotionally detach from those people, love and believe in myself, put in the work and effort to work through the fact that I could have wanted a dream to come into reality with them, but it's not coming into reality. And seeing the truth, my dream can only come into reality with people who are more on the same page as me. So I accept the truth. Our truth is different. And I face my fears and I keep moving forward, believing the divine has a plan for my life. Because I think God wants us to get our divine inheritance. But if we keep getting manipulated by our own ego and like, oh no, no, they'll change, it's like, and God's like, I've been working with them all their life. But hey, again, there's nothing wrong with being loving and encouraging and supportive to people. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. No, I'm going to keep moving on. No longer deceived and living in illusion. If I see that you and my intuition is telling me that you're more about yourself or the ego or the image or indulgence or whatever other reason it could be, no, I'm going to keep trusting in myself and my dream because both people have to be planting like good seeds or it's going to be a bad harvest. And you've probably already been in relationships where you are the one putting in all that work and effort trying to bring the dream into reality, and the other people are like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then you got yourself, again, Scorpio talks about, that we're these emotionally complex people, and some people use your loving nature to try to manipulate you. Some people get in relationships hoping that because you're a loving person, it'll be able to keep manipulating you to keep you staying in it when you shouldn't, because it's not just and fair and authentic and balanced and loving. But then it's really hard for you to work through, that you do have this dualistic nature and you do want these things of the world and you can love people. And some people are like, I'm not going to keep staying in something where people aren't being authentic, aren't being just and fair. High vibe Taurus aren't acting with character and integrity, aren't who they say they were. That's an injustice. And if people are being shadowy, I'm going to deal with the truth of it, accept the truth of it, get out of my ego about it, love myself, believe in my dreams. This isn't what God intended for me. So I'm going to face my fears to keep moving forward. And then it's almost like other people could see that you're doing that. Some people, fire sign energy that people are harnessing in high vibe, other people find it very attractive. Some people find it to be a challenge. You know, it's kind of like shadowy people. It's kind of like who wears the best mask of them all that can manipulate and deceive an authentic, loving person. Well, you know, it's kind of like as if, we both exist in the world, people who are more hopeful and believing, and people who are more worldly. Everybody has free will to decide, to what degree, because relationships can be about compromise. But high vibe people want it to be based on being authentic and from love, or they can go take their not inspired by love nature and go get in a relationship with someone else. And that's what some of those people are doing. And it can seem more like a job, and it can seem like the people are working with them for these other reasons of how it benefits them, or that other people really don't kind of challenge them and, you know, stretch them to grow and look at life differently. And maybe it's all about making their life about these things, and it can seem kind of boring. And other people will do the work to love and believe in themselves, quit being more seduced by their worldly, egoic, or shadowy nature in other people, and doing the work to love and believe in themselves, to face their fears and get in relationships with people, who challenge them to grow and mature. And that's why when we stay in relationships where we're just trying to make other people like change or grow or heal or mature, do we heal and grow and mature too? Yeah. But if we were in a relationship with someone who we weren't trying to change, who really was someone who was kind of inspired, wanted to be in deep, meaningful relationships, had some of the same hopes and dreams, and were loving and nurturing, yeah, there's always going to be some, practical matters of life that we deal with. But you continue to challenge each other to keep believing in themselves, to face their fears, and it's like growing to their full potential. And high vibe Taurus is being like truly being someone who walks the talk and kind of being a spiritual leader in the world just by how you authentically live your life. What's coming up for the high vibe people they might not see coming? The Page of Cups. Why? Because of the Six of Swords. Well, the Six of Swords is Aquarius energy. You saw the truth of some people you needed to move away from. The Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords. So, people that you could view as just maybe having a lot of mental conflict, that they might not want to deal with. Um, some of them, the Five of Swords, can talk about people who want to win at all costs. They don't care really who gets hurt. And it's really just more about them. And just harness a more shadowy Aquarius energy and shadowy Taurus and shadowy Leo and Scorpio and Cancer and fire sign energy. It's just more being emotionally inspired, more about themselves or the world. And you saw the truth of it, and that's not your truth. And because you also wanted to get to the truth, because you didn't like it was causing you mental conflict, and you got inspired to change, realizing the light bulb moment. Oh my gosh, I keep trying to change other people. Just like I have my way of living life, do I want someone coming in my life trying to make me change? No. It's kind of like we find people and we look for people who are kind of on the same stream of life, like consciousness and philosophy, that we are. And I'm done trying to change other people. The only person I can change is me. And I can have love for people and I wish you peace, but that's not my truth. And that you keep kind of showing me that's your truth. So I'm going to kind of emotionally distance myself from you and maybe kind of do this work within myself to work through. how I want to move forward next and what my dreams are, because we're moving forward with people, but what is the truth behind why we do it, why they do it? Is our truth the same or is it not? And it's like, well, I've picked my truth and I want to be in balance because Six of Wands can talk about balance. I want to be in balanced, authentic, loving, encouraging relationships with people who are inspired to put in work and effort to work through their mental conflict and see the truth of what manipulates them so they can let it go and be free of it. But I could see some people got some things that manipulate them that they don't want to free themselves from. And that's okay. And you can do that. But I'm not going to be investing much time, energy, and effort. I'm going to look for people who are kind of more on the same page. And because you were willing to do that and you did look at life from a higher perspective and put things in perspective and looked at things from the big picture that everyone has free will, the people who have freed themselves to be more just and fair people are. The people who've worked through issues to be more loving are. The people who have grown and matured themselves to act with more character and integrity do. And the people who don't. And it can be hard to accept that some people in our life, whether they're friends or family or whoever, kind of got some growing up to do. But they don't have to. They just go hang out with people that kind of view life that way also. But that's not my truth. I've maybe been there and done that. We can deal with people of different ages and different emotional maturity levels, regardless of what age they are. But I'm not going to I can offer people love and encouragement. But if I keep seeing they're not inspired to detach, to do some of this work within themselves, to work through some of those issues, you know, then there's going to be a time it's like, well, I wish you peace, but, I did kind of see that there were some of these issues there, and I might have communicated some of those things, but it doesn't seem to matter. So I will let you go live the life of your dreams, and I'll go live the life of my dreams. And you got to the Page of Cups energy of, and the Six of Wands can talk about getting out of your ego about it and seeing the truth to offer love to it. Offer love to the whole situation so that you can let it go. I accept that everybody views life the way they view it, wants to live life the way they want to live it, is at their own maturity levels, driven and motivated by different things. Hey, I've been there, done that. I wish you peace. Hope it works out for you. But I'm going to keep moving forward in my truth. And your philosophy of life could be different. And you could look at life, be able to keep things in perspective maybe better than some of these people. More balance between your mind and your heart than some other people. And that's just the fact of life. Everybody's at different places and stages of how they view life. And you might think also that you have more to work with in this world than just what the world tells you, because you do. You do have your creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. And to align with life giving energy, kind of represented by God at the big picture, that wants to give birth to new things. And it's like these two forces battling, energies battling in the world, within ourself, within other people, and within the world. And some people think, no, 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 not gonna listen to my intuition or my creative inspired nature. I would have to harness my fire sign energy differently. And I think I need to just work with these things of the world. That's what I should do. I was like, okay, but that's not my truth. I am going to listen because I think our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world. And we were all given our creative, inspired, intuitive nature. We all have our own unique talents, skills, and interests. And some people don't even go get in career fields or anything that's even aligned with things that they would like to do because that makes practical, logical sense. That will get me the status, ego, and the image. It's like, I hope you like going to work every day, doing something you hate, you know? And some people will because it gives them the money they want. Some people will be in friendships and relationships with people they don't even like because it gets them the status and the ego and the image that they want. Like, well, it's your free will, your choice of how you want to live your life. That's how you want to live your life. I hope you enjoy it. That's not how I choose to live my life. So I wish you peace and I'm moving on. And I think you're offering the Page of Cups can be like just offering simple gestures to people to be loving and encouraging for people to work together with you cooperatively in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. You have no ill intentions towards them. Some people will see the truth. Some people could have been defensive. Like, I've known other people who seem like they're just and fair, but they just weren't. So now I don't trust people. It's like, okay, well, listen to your intuition. And, if it's just to be friends and get along in the neighborhood or at the workplace, I'm not asking more of you than just to work together with you cooperatively, and get along. Well, then it's like, oh, you're not asking more of me? No, you know? And then, okay. you know? But I think as you're doing that, there will be some people who do work through some of their, and it's kind of like, being just an authentic person in the world that could inspire other people to wonder, why do I hang out with who I hang out with? Why do I do what I do? Why don't I maybe look at life a little differently? Why don't I kind of give this person a break and be their friend or get along with them better, or something? But they got free will. Either way, you're moving forward. But there could be people who do want to have new beginnings with you, do view you as someone that they could have their dreams come into reality. But if you keep spending more of your time, energy into people who you already know that's not their truth, it's realizing my dreams can only come into reality with people where they have worked through these issues. So I'm going to go find those people, and the people that are currently in my life and moving forward with me in that way are part of my group of friendship group or whatever. And I'm going to go find more people. And if other people have already shown me that's not their truth, it's like, well, it's like, why hang out with people that have different views of life or different emotional maturity levels? What's coming up for people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy that they might not see coming? Well, it was the King of Cups, but the Wheel of Fortune wanted to stick out in the deck. So the reason these came out is because of the Justice card and the Queen of Pentacles. So because some people, I do view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus energy, because some people do think it's just and fair to emotionally invest in kind of repeating this old way of living life or viewing life, which they think is just and fair, which is it's just and fair for them because that's how they view life. At any stage of life that we're living it, kind of in a way, is it just and fair for us to live our life that way? Yeah, because that's how we view life. The Justice card just means there will be consequences for the decisions we make. But because they think it's just and fair to make their life not about being more authentically themselves, facing their fears, looking at life from a higher perspective, the Page of Cups can represent all three of the water sign energies of Pisces and Cancer and Scorpio. That isn't their truth emotionally. Emotionally, they're still more caught up in the world, maybe. So, because of that, shadowy King of Cups can be people who kind of wear a false mask. and they think that's just and fair. I'll just go out in the world. Isn't it good enough if I present myself as loving and in general, in a lot of ways, seem loving and like a loving family person? In their Cancer energy, because I view the King of Cups as Cancer energy, which everybody harnesses Cancer energy, that they've decided, I just think I have an idea. I'll just present myself as like a loving family person. And maybe that's why I detach from some other relationships. But really, they could have detached from some other relationships because some of the people in their life harness high vibe Cancer energy. And those people wanted them to be more authentic and face their fears and insecurities and be more independent. They're like, nope, not doing that. You can leave. I know. I will just present myself as being motivated and inspired by love. And now that I've maybe been in a relationship with someone who's loving, I kind of know how they act and operate. And then I will present myself as being that type of person, but I'm being deceptive and manipulative. And they think the Wheel of Fortune is going to go in their favor. But the Wheel of Fortune talks about that, we can put in a lot of work and effort to have a certain status and image and present ourselves a certain way, and it will kind of maybe help things seem like they're moving forward and going in our favor. But if they'll either repeat this pattern where they try to manipulate more hopeful, believing, loving people, and the Wheel of Fortune can say it's just like a never ending cycle. They get in relationships with more high vibe people. The high vibe people eventually listen to their intuition, see the truth, and they move away. For some of those people, that's happening right now. For other people, if they can, and so they're always going to have more high vibrational people who leave their life because eventually they see the truth that they're not who they say they are. And it can seem more superficial and shallow. And that wasn't their idea of the dream life. And so they wish him peace and they leave. And they didn't see that coming. What? I never thought you were going to see the truth. That I'm kind of more about myself or my defensive nature or the ego or the image. I never thought you'd see the truth, whether they're male or female. And odds are, because they have a problem dealing with the truth, odds are they'll keep wearing their false mask, doing things the way they've been doing it, just trying to find someone else who is maybe, they might not want it, but eventually they might end up being in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. Because I think even shadowy people want to be in a relationship with people who authentically love them and who are authentic and loving and encouraging, even though that's not really, they can present themselves as being that type of person, but it's not authentically who they are. And I think they'll probably eventually get in a relationship with someone who's like them, who also presents himself as like a loving family person. But it's more being more motivated and inspired to be in the relationship, to be in a relationship for the status, the ego, the image. And even though both of them, or the people who live their life like that and get in situations like that, could want to kind of leave because those things are so important for them, the devil's kind of got a stranglehold on them. And as people kind of live out their life, it kind of becomes illuminated. Who's more in jobs, friendships, and relationships because it seems better for the more for the ego and the image, and who seems to really be motivated and inspired by truth and love. And that's where, people think they can try to cheat the system, but the truth comes to light. And you can just see it by how people are together and how they live their life. Who seems to be more authentic, more hopeful, more believing, more genuine? Who seems to be more superficial, shallow, more like it's a job, being deceptive and manipulative, in it for these ulterior purposes. So, in time, the truth just comes to light all on its own. But by some people choosing to not get in and stay in relationships for those reasons, other people see those people in the world and other relationships they can get in and that they could be in right now. And they see that those people aren't willing to let high vibe people in relationships go because they want to go indulge themselves more in their ego and their image. And for the people who could be tempted to do that right now, thinking, oh, this person loves me. Oh, I think I can deceive and manipulate this person. And I think I can let them move forward and I'll go repeat this old pattern to go indulge in something. I'm sure at some later date, I can come approach them and tell them that I want to be back in a relationship. But what they don't realize is that the high vibe people in their life have changed. I worked through all the confusion when instead of moving forward, acting with character and integrity, and you didn't, I had to work through all of that and I did. And I don't see you as someone I want to move forward with. And I'm not attracted to you the way I could have been. And I no longer view you as someone I think I can have a dream come into reality because you showed me the truth of who you were. And I don't want to be in a relationship with someone like that. And so some of the people, that's the risk we all take when we kind of give in to our shadowy nature and we have some lessons to learn that some other people move on in our life and they can wish us peace. They've come to peace about it, but am I going to get back in a friendship or relationship with you? No. I've had people who've learned those lessons. They're like, that's okay. I understand. I'm not going to be in my ego about it either. And I'm going to keep moving on and believing the divine has a plan for my life. And, but some people keep repeating a pattern, thinking they can hide the truth of who they are. But eventually the truth gets illuminated. And if they try to reconnect with some other people and the other people are like, sorry, I moved on, then some of them will revert to repeating this old pattern. Oh, well, I'll just go try to find someone else to deceive and manipulate because I haven't gotten to that place of really healing. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.